Hi everyone, welcome back to the Van Gogh Sunflower exhibit. This place is awesome, come check it out. We have another quick tutorial today. We are creating a watering can that when you water seeds will grow a flower. So if we grab our seeds and we throw them in here, we grab our watering can and we point the trigger button, nothing's happening, but if we get close enough, when we point, we get a little bit of water coming out, and I've set it to be really fast, but you can see the flowers growing, and there's nothing we can do down here, so we can't interact with it, but after it finishes growing, we can pick the flower. There we go, we've picked the flower, and that's all there is to it. So we could duplicate a bunch of different flowers, different types of flowers, different colored seeds, and do this over and over again with a bunch of different ones, but I basically set it so it only runs here on this flower. It's pretty easy to change it so it's running off of the any location, but for this instance we're only running it off of this one pot. So if you wanted to, you could attach the triggers and all the stuff into here rather than attaching it to that. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we created this. Alright, so now that we've got all of our little info boxes scattered, let's go ahead and start with what we've got going on here. So we've got a visual effects water that you can see is water spray. It's not looping, it does not play on start, so we'll trigger that via script. There's no scripts running on it. Then down here we have our ground level seed trigger. So this allows you to trigger seeds that are in that trigger. And so this triggers on objects tagged seeds. And then this one is running the script grow trigger. And you can see that it's tied into our watering can. And so if we go to the grow trigger, oops, right, we are these all pre-opened. So if we go into the grow trigger, when trigger enters with object, then we send the event grow a flower to the object. So when seeds enter that trigger, they're going to grow. So when we throw the seeds down into the plot of land, they land in the trigger, then they grow. But that doesn't always happen, as you can tell. So how do we do that? So we're done with this trigger. This trigger here, the big one that goes around the entire area, this one, we're tagging objects water. So this is a watering can, so it's tagged water, and when that object is within this area, it will then send an event. So let's go back to our code. So this is for water script. Here we are. So here, when trigger is entered with object, send the same my event to object with the boolean of true, and when it exits, send it with false. So basically, every time the watering can enters this trigger, it's being told that it's in the trigger, and then it says, nope, you're not in the trigger anymore. And so that is how we check to see if the watering can be used over here, therefore triggering the effects and the growth timer. So pretty neat. Next up, we're done with this trigger as well. We have the watering can. So watering can, you can see we have it set to be grabbed right here. And if we go inside here, you can see that it's visible, collidable, interactive. I didn't put physics on because this watering can doesn't fall very well, but that could be easily fixed, and then you could throw on some physics. But now we've got it tied into the trigger. So you can see it's attached to the trigger. It's also attached to the visual effects. And we can see the boolean starts at false for the in radius. That's the one that we were just talking about. So now we're running the code watering can. So let's go take a look at watering can. All right, so under watering can, we can see that when the world is started, we disable the trigger, so the trigger doesn't work once the world is started. When the index trigger with player is received, we check if in radius is true. If it is, we enable the trigger and we play visual effects. And then when index trigger is up with player, then we disable the trigger. And when my event is received, we set in radius to be whatever the boolean is that we're receiving. So whether it's an enter or exit event, we're going to receive a boolean for either or through this one event, and we can set it by using this extra tag. Very handy. All right. Last but not least, we have the seed. So if we go down here and start with the seed, you can see seed is just an interactive object with physics. It falls like a feather. Its scale is set to 100. This is what the plant will be scaling to, which actually I'm going to have to go pull that one up, come to think of it. The growth time can be adjusted in here. The plant is tagged, and one off starts false, and we'll go through what that is in a minute. So this is running the script seed, and you can see this is tagged seeds, and we don't have two-handed grab on because it's just too small in my opinion. So here is our flower that's going to be grown. So you see we start really small. So up in here, we're not running any script. We're just making it animated. And under attributes, we've set it to scale 0.01. So we've really just made this as small as possible. And that's why we're multiplying it by 100, because 100 times 0.01 is 1. So if we did it by 200, that would be 2 times bigger than its normal size. So that is how that works. And you can see that it is nothing else over here. But it becomes grabbable after. So it's not interactive now, but it's made interactive after it's finished growing. So right now it's not, but when you set it up as interactive, and then in the script, it sets it to be not interactive. So let's go take a look at that. So that's over here. So when world is started, we hide the plant and we set simulated to false. So start it by being simulated, start it by having interaction, and then once you add this code, it sets it to be false. So that's why it didn't look true over there. And then when event grow of flowers receives, so remember that's sent by the trigger. So once the trigger is activated and the seeds are in the area, then we get if one off equals false. And what is one off, you might ask? Well, one off is a Boolean that checks to see if we've done this before. So since we start as false, this is always going to work the first time, but it doesn't work the second time because right here you can see we've set it to true. So we start by showing the plant, moving the plant to the position of self, so it moves to the position of the seeds, and then we scale the plant times the scale, so that's times 100, and we use the scale of the plant, so the starting scale, and we do it over growth time, so whatever the growth time is on plant. So we're just running this all on the plant, multiplying it by the scale to get what it needs to scale to, because sometimes it's not just 0.01, 0.01, 0.01, sometimes it's a little bit different. So that's how that works. And then set one off to true, and then we want to send event enable flower and send event hide seeds with a delay. So growth time means it's going to be the exact same amount of time as we've set from our variable, and we've set hide seeds to happen after 5 seconds. Hide seeds just hides the seeds themselves, and when event enable flower is received, it sets simulated to true on the plant. And that is how it works. Now, this is not simple code. I've been working on it for a couple hours just to get it to this point. So some of the things that I think you need to be aware of are like number one, the scaling. I tried to scale the plant with script beforehand, but I just found there was just too many issues coming up. I think it is possible, but you have to do it right. And so that's why I started by scaling it as an object first, and then running all the code based off of its initial 0.01, 0.01, 0.01 scale. All right, let's go ahead and do this one more time, just see how it works now that you know how it goes. So we throw the seeds in, nothing's happening. We placed it in the center, so if we put it off to the side, it wouldn't work exactly. You could make the trigger bigger if you wanted it to work on the sides, but I didn't. Grab this. We can see when we press the trigger button, it's not working unless we get close enough, and we could do it from any angle, it doesn't really matter. And there it goes. So we let go of that. We'll see that the flower is growing. The seeds have just disappeared. In a few seconds, we'll be able to grab the flower. See, as you can see, we can't grab the flower right now, but now we can. We've now got this beautiful flower. There's so much you can do with this. You could grow trees. You could grow like apples on trees using a very similar code. There is really quite endless possibilities here. I will probably at some point come back and make a more advanced tutorial on this where we go into some of those options. But for now, I just wanted to get this out there so anybody who's trying to grow some plants, you can. And if you have any questions or you come up with any difficulties or struggles, feel free to ask. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.